I'm on a second 7 crossing this morning, heading over to West Wales to meet Paddy, Paddy's brother Denver, and Paddy and Denver's cousin Mike, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I'm just on the, like I said, on the second 7 crossing now. Be looking at travel time of about hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes from here, so too bad really. Route seems really nice and clear, which is good. It's good, that's rare. Usually I'm heading across here on a Friday night, the bridge is absolutely rammed. You know, paved roof's rammed, brick glass tunnels rammed, so fingers crossed I might have left it, you know, perfect sort of time really. You alright buddy? How you doing mate? Thank you very much mate, have a good day. Consider this might be a good time to talk to you about the type of hammock I use for sleeping in. So let's start from the beginning. So every hammock needs a way of attaching to the trees. For that they're commonly called tree straps. Now I've come up with a system that I found sort of by using various sort of methods and discussions online, and I'm using what they call a tree strap. It's hugely common in regards to hammock camping, and I've made my own out of some inch wide webbing. This was, for 10 metres, was approximately £4.50 online, and I go through various different methods of hanging it in the tree. So firstly I've tied quite a simple, what they call a lark's head, into one end, which is just a loop, and secondly I then fasten the hammock itself to the tree strap using the only type of pre-made toggle that's in my kit. However, a piece of branch, something cut on site could do. I just used to carry these pieces of ash that I cut down in the garden a long time ago. So I'm going to take you over to the tree now and show you how I fasten this toggle then to this inch wide webbing to give me a situation where I can clip on my hammock. So, quite simply, got my toggle here. I'm going to take a loop, or a bite, some people would know it in regards to tying knots. I'll take a bite, and take it up over the strap, feed the toggle in around the back a bit and pull it tight, and that's how it'll look. So my hammock is going to sit here behind this knot, so all it's actually going to do is make this tighter and tighter and tighter. So when it comes to choosing something in regards to a toggle, you want to look for a fairly substantial branch, but it doesn't have to be huge, because like I said, my hammock effectively is going to sit behind this knot, like so. So I'll bring across my hammock now and you can have a little look. Okay, so on the end of my hammock I have this adjustable piece of cord called a whoopee sling. And I can talk to you a little bit about more in depth about that. However, a whoopee sling is not the only way you can use this tree strap system. You can simply clip a carabiner behind this, or you could tie a loop in the end of sort of any material. But I've chose to go with whoopee slings just because they're slightly more adjustable, but again, they're not absolutely essential. Okay, so as you can see, the basic structure of my hammock and half of my tarp are up into place. Now I've got a little bit of work to do in regards to finishing that side of my tarp off. We are due for rain between midnight and 6 AM. So I've got a little bit of work to do to ensure that my tarp doesn't pull any water or carry any weight from the rain. And I've got a little bit of work to do just to finish off my hammock. Now the camera is in a flat position, so you can see that this end of my hammock is actually slightly raised in comparison to that end. Okay, so the reason for that is my feet are actually going to go up this slightly higher end. Okay, because if I put my head at that higher end, the weight of my head and my torso, etc., etc., being the heaviest parts of your body, will encourage me to slip all the way down through the night and keep sort of finding myself in a bunched up pile. So my feet will be at this end, where it's the highest point. My body will kind of equalise out, you know, the body weight will kind of equalise out to this point here. So that's very key to a good, comfortable night's sleep. As you can see, this particular hammock is the DD Frontline. It comes with a built-in mosquito net, or bug net. I've done a very brief video before in regards to my homemade hammock under blanket. Now these are super important because as you lay in a hammock, all that insulation underneath you in regards to things like your sleeping bag, etc., etc., really get crushed due to your body weight. Okay, so what this under blanket does is it sits underneath you, creates a very small pocket then for air to be warmed up by your body heat, and creates a kind of a buffer. And this one was made out of what you call an army poncho liner, like I've discussed before. And I've actually folded this in half. So these blankets in themselves have very good insulational qualities. However, with this being doubly folded, it creates me kind of a double layer then to trap all that pocket of air for my body heat to warm up. So I'll go ahead now and I'll pop this onto my hammock. Okay, so as discussed before, I said in the previous video that this DD Frontline hammock comes with 4 parts of webbing pre-stitched to it, which gives you the application then to fit an under blanket, whether it's DD, it's or a different brand, or it's something you've made yourself. Now, as you notice, at present, I'm sitting, quite a ways away, probably over a foot away from the underside of my hammock. Now, bear in mind there's going to be a certain amount of body weight to go in there. However, it's not going to push it down that far. So to take that sag out of the under blanket now, all I've got is one final piece of bungee cord to bring up over the end of my hammock and push it around the back here. Pull it round. Again, this is only bungee cord. It's only shock cord, so there is sort of flexibility in giving it in regards to my weight being applied to it, and also again there is movement for it to stretch and sag in time, but it's not a problem because anyone who's ever tied knots in bungee cord realise they're usually quite simple to undo again. So as you can see, that's pulled all of this under blanket now nice and tight to the hammock, so by the time I put my body weight into there, like I said to you, it just creates that nice small cushion. When these are first made, they take a little bit of adjustment to do. Again, I've ran shock cord through the hem on the outside layer, so that just really kind of plucks that up and tightens it around the ends of your hammock. But again, that's all open for adjustment. So my sleep system is really quite basic and quite simple. So it comprises of a small cheap camping pillow. I find I'm not particularly used to laying on my back, so I roll my head quite a lot, and this just kind of sits under my shoulder and just adds as a little buffer to keep my head in what I'm used to is more of a natural position. So that's going to sit down this end. Very simple sleeping bag. Now this particular one, I chose to purchase the DD Dura 2 for multiple reasons. So I'll open it up and show you basically the reasons why I chose the Dura DD2. Now, for anyone that's ever tried a hammock or is thinking of potentially going into it for the first time, there's a couple of different ways of getting into your hammock and your sleeping bag. So the first things first about this particular type of sleeping bag, it was designed for use in hammocks specifically. So you will notice this has got my preferred method for any sleeping bag, which is a centre zip. Now this is where DD have gone into this quite detail. They've added what this material is Oxford nylon foot box is what they call it. So a lot of people will sit on the side of their hammock with the sleeping bag underneath them, get their feet and everything in nice and comfortable, and then kind of attempt to turn around and swing into their hammock. You'll also find one of the design features of the Dura 2 is the foot box is also waterproof on the inside. Anyway, I'm going to get the rest of this all set up and put away, ready for tonight. Anyone who's sort of interested in the idea of getting into hammocking, my advice would be to always have something as a spare layer, just for the very early hours, dead of the night. And what I'll do is I'll always take my spare layer and stuff it right up into the foot area. So for the majority of the night, that just sits over the top of my feet. However, you wake up and you're a little bit parky, you can just pull that layer straight over the top.